Do you more so read the descriptions? Like Netflix, obviously, you want to know what the movie's about. Do you find yourself doing that in YouTube as well? Yeah? Yeah? Not as much, yeah? How much time do you think you scroll through, whether it's Netflix or YouTube? Do you spend just scrolling because it's not interesting? It's not, yeah? Okay, so today we're gonna try to keep people from scrolling away from your videos, okay? My name is Vanelle Hogan. A little background on me. I've been in film and TV for over 20 years. Started off in front of the camera and then started working behind the camera. I worked 10 years for Inspiration TV, producing for them, producing their content, whether it was for television or for digital, YouTube, all of that. And not this past October, but the October before, I was laid off. They had layoffs. It's been a tough economy for nonprofits. So I started my own company. So now I do content creation, I do social media management, as well as marketing and branding. So that's what's kind of brought me here today. So our goal is to show you guys how to optimize your YouTube so that way you can get found, your videos can get seen, all that good stuff, right? Because that's the goal. All right, so the problem that most creators have is that, as you know, they upload them and no one sees them. So one thing a big thing a lot of people don't realize is YouTube it's not just YouTube. It's not just YouTube. It's not just where people do throw stuff up. But what it is a discovery platform. It is actually the #2 search engine now. It's right behind Google. And closing in on YouTube is actually ChatGPT now for a search engine. But a lot of people are going to YouTube now to look for answers to their questions. And it also has become, I think it's like the #3 way now that people stream on television. So not just on their computers, people are actually watching YouTube on television. I know I do that. I know my mother, definitely, that's all she has on her TV is YouTube. She watches these little monkey videos, but anyway, it's a whole other thing. So, optimizing your YouTube is really important because there's just so much on there now. There's so much content that you're competing with that there's a lot of noise going on in there. So,
was that YouTube's that they mission?
I don't know if it was so much their mission as much as it became their mission. I don't think they set out to be,
I think they're still in their lap like this.
Yeah, and they, they've had new CEOs come in and just have kind of run with it, but people they are on there to educate themselves, they're on there to entertain themselves, they're on there to put up their podcasts. People are looking for solutions. I mean, how many of you have gone on there and said, how to fix my washing machine, or yeah. So yes, so that's probably one of its largest audiences is looking for solutions, right? So when you're thinking about your YouTube channel, you can't just think of it as it's a place I'm just putting my videos. It's a place I'm just putting my content. You've really got to think about YouTube as this is your network. We get to all have our own networks now. When I was a kid, I always wanted my own television network. And even as an adult, I was like, I want my own network. I want my own network. I want to be like Oprah, have my own network. Well, turns out you don't need millions of dollars to do that now because you have YouTube. It puts having a network in your hands, okay? And as you see, like Mr. Beast, he just reigns in YouTube land. All right, so you're not going to think like somebody who's just posting on social media, right? YouTube started out as being a social media type platform. It's not anymore. It is a legit network channel. So when you're putting stuff up on there, you really have to think, am I just posting something because I just want it up there because I ate this today? Or it's not that. It's not Facebook. It's not Instagram. You've got to think like a producer now. You've got to be strategic, okay? This is your brand. And I just we'll come back to that, but I do want you to notice on here, because we're going to talk about thumbnails, that each one of these 3 channels have a very distinct look that you would always identify with their brand when they do their thumbnails, okay? All right, so the algorithm wants three things. It wants people to click on your video, it wants people to watch your video, and it also wants to keep people. It wants your video to keep people not just on your channel. Yeah, they want people to stay on your channel, but what they really want is that doom scrolling, where somebody watches your video, and after they watch your video, they watch maybe another one of your videos, or maybe they go watch somebody else, but they want you to stay on the platform, okay? That's YouTube's whole goal. So we're gonna talk about packaging it. So how do you package your video? Because this is really important if you're going to get people to stay on your channel. So the first thing, and we're really gonna spend some time on hooks. The hook is the most important thing, okay? That is what is gonna capture your audience's attention. That is what makes somebody look at your video and go, oh, what is this? It sparks that curiosity, okay? And then the title is important because the title, again, it's gonna trigger curiosity, the problem, and the promise of value. So if I'm looking to get my dishwasher fixed and I want to do it myself, I'm going to want in the title something that's very specific about fixing my washing machine in 3 minutes, you know, something like that. I mean, it still needs to hold up to that value. You can't say it's going to be fixed in 3 minutes and it's a 2-hour video, right? People are going to click off right away. And then your thumbnail, again, your thumbnail, that's your movie poster. Okay, so every video, think about if that's your movie poster, what is that going to look like? What is it, how is it going to capture people? Because that's the first thing they're going to see is your thumbnail. Just like when you go to the movies, the first thing you see all on the wall is the movie posters. And if the movie poster is interesting enough, that's when you start looking who's in it, you want to watch the trailer, all of that, okay?
The thumbnail also has to be authentic.
Yes, yes.
That's the most frustrating thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
You see a thumb, oh, this is going to be fascinating. Mm-hmm. Click on it, it ain't worth a damn.
Yeah, yeah. And then, but what happens is those type of videos eventually don't get shown because the fall off is within those first 3 seconds. The first 3 seconds of your video are the most important seconds. It used to be 10, now it's if you don't get people in 3 seconds, they move on. So a lot of that content falls away because the first 3 seconds, you know, you open it up and it looks like it was, you know, shot in 1980 on a camcorder and, you know, but the poster shows all these, you know, great special effects and, you know, all of that. So you don't want to do that. Make sure your thumbnail does represent, you know, what you have. Okay, so we will go over setting up your channel correctly. This is really important because this is how, you know, yes, things can get lost, but also there's so much on the front end people don't know to do because, you know, YouTube doesn't tell you how to get seen. It just tells you feed me, right? It's a monster. So the important things is you want to have a clear channel name. I'm a big fan of Myron Golden. I don't know if you know who Myron Golden is, but he talks about business. He talks about business with biblical principles, which I love. But you know, his channel's called Myron Golden. That's it. You know, you don't have to get super fancy. You can be clever, but you don't have to be. You can literally just have your name, your company name, whatever that it's, as long as it's clear. The next thing is your banner. So your banner's up at the top. Okay. So you want to make a nice banner. I use Canva. Canva's great, because it'll have everything pre-sized. You can just go on Canva, type in YouTube banner, it'll bring up the right size. You can use one of their templates if you want, or you can get creative and you can, you know, add your own images and everything like that. I swear by Canva, but I know people do use Photoshop and some of the other ones. And then you want a channel description, so can't really read it on there. but you'll have, yes.
With the Canva, you have to have the subscription.
There is a free version, but it limits you what you can use. I love Canva because I don't just use it for that. I mean, I use it to create marketing material. I mean, I find it very valuable. I would say play in there maybe with the free version and see how you like it. But it's such a great resource. They have, I mean, templates for everything. So even with your videos, you can even, if you're doing shorts, it's great to, you can upload your short video on there and you can edit it, add music, you know, you can do all kinds of special effects, like all that stuff on there too. So it could be worth exploring. So we have channel description. Now, a channel trailer, not everybody does a channel trailer. A channel trailer is great. Myron does one, and it welcomes he actually does two. He has one that welcomes somebody who's never been to his channel before. Once you've been to his channel, that one doesn't show anymore. I don't know how he does that. I haven't figured that out yet. But his next, after that, he has another trailer, and it just, you know, introduces him, tells you what you're going to see in the channel, and you get an idea of his personality if he's somebody that you want to even work with, right? And then having organized playlists. So that is something when you're setting up your channel, you're going to want to take time. You may not have a playlist in the beginning, but as you're building out your channel, you want your playlists. Again, you're a network and you have channels on your network. So if you've got a lot of different things you're doing, you may have, you know, a channel that is how to, and maybe another channel is, maybe you're doing seminars. These are my seminars, or, you know, whatever. You still want to make sure everything fits in your niche. You don't want to have to, and there is an important thing to niching down. Sometimes we want to cast out this wide net, and casting out a wide net does not guarantee that you're going to get everybody. Really think about who your audience is and what you're trying to do, and niche it down to this. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but when you really niche it down, then YouTube knows who to send your videos to see. If it's too wide and people aren't clicking on it, then YouTube thinks nobody's interested, so it shows it to nobody. Get it niched down to, this is, like, for instance, what was your show? You have a show?
What's the name of it? Visual Deliverance.
Visual Deliverance. So you are focused, so obviously it's faith-based. Okay, so you'll want something like that, niche that down to, but even down to the deliverance. So that way it doesn't go out to, you know, it's not being sent to Buddhist monks, you know, because, you know, so you really niche it down, and that's going to go into your title, into your hooks, into your hashtags, all of that. You want to make sure you are completely niched down. Yes.
And it's those key terms that would actually
yes.
let the system know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
You say niche. Is there settings that you can click on to let them know where you want this particular?
So yeah, so when you're setting it up, it'll be the hashtags you use for your channel, not your video. Those are different things. But when you're setting up your channel, it'll have where you can add hashtags. That's where you can go hashtag crazy if you want, but just make sure that your hashtags are still all in the same subject. So if you are fixing dryers, you don't want to put fishing in there, because fishing has nothing to do with what your niche is. Even if there's a video of you fishing, you don't want to put, if it's, you know, if it's how to fix dryers, appliances, you know, all of that, you want to just really keep it to who your target audience is, and your target audience is not the world. I know we all like to think, who am I making this for? Everybody. No, we're not. If you're making it for everybody, you're making it for nobody, okay? So just know that. All right, so this is actually one of my channels. It's Live Authentic Faith, and it's just videos with little prayers and things like that. You rarely, I think there's only one video actually with my face. I'm trying to be faceless on this one. But for me, I don't have necessarily a trailer. What I did was I just have one of my videos I highlighted. Whoops, let's go back. Okay, so so I have the banner. It's very obvious. It's called Live Authentic Faith, and my description in there, I can't read it, but it supports that. It's about prayer and inspiration, very specific to Christian faith. I have on there so that, again, yes, we, even as, and I don't know, if everybody here is faith-based, but, we as Christians, we're told we're supposed to, go get everybody. But at the same time, again, like, I know that there are people that are going to not want to see this, and I don't need them to take my algorithm down. So, and then, let's see, here we go.
Algorithm is how many people are watching it or get off it?
Algorithm is whether people are clicking on it, how long they watch, and how long they stay on the platform. Algorithms are changing all the time in that, in a way they don't change, because that stays the same, but where it does change is more so subject matter. Sometimes things are just trending more. Like you'll have people say, oh, I'm shadow banned, or oh, it's the algorithm. No, a lot of times it's the content. It's not holding anybody's attention. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow, but we blame a lot of things on algorithms and being shadow banned, and it's really like, no, people just aren't watching your video. Now you can get shadow banned, but usually you're doing something that you probably know you shouldn't be doing. So this is the channel customization, and this is what I was talking about, and I wish it was a little bit clearer, but I also will tell you that at the end, if you want a copy of this, just give me your email address and I will send this to you, so that way you have it to go along with your notes. But so this is your channel customization. So you've just signed up for your YouTube, you've thought of the name, you've got your little profile picture, you've got your banner. Now you're going to get into customizing it. So you're going to, and it'll have, let's see, let me go back so I can show you. Right here, you're going to click right there, Customize Channel, okay? And then that will take you here. This is where you will add your banner. This is where you'll add, you can either do your logo or a picture, whatever it is you want. And then, I'm trying to read this. Yeah, this is just where you'll put in your information, which is pretty self-explanatory. Your description, all of that. Your description, again, we talked about keywords. You want to put as many keywords in your description as possible because of YouTube being a search engine. The more keywords you have in your description, the more it's going to look at you as being the expert on that, and it's going to show you to more people. If you're wondering what your keywords are, there's different ways you can find them. You can go to basically any AI. I use ChatGPT a lot, Gemini, any of those, and you can just tell it, this is my channel, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I want to do. What are some keywords that need to be in my description? And that way you know to include those words in your description. Again, your description, your title, your hook. You want that stuff to just be repetitive. And then next, we're going to go to this Home tab right here. And this is where you organize. Wow, this is super sensitive. This is where you start organizing things. So you'll be able to decide here what is that video that you want to show when people click on, and you can set it up to automatically play as well. And then you want to make sure, see this right here, I'm so scared now it's going to keep changing. You want to make sure that's clicked on your Home tab, okay? Because that's going to, that way people see that and everything's organized, but you want that clicked. If you don't click that, you can be hard to find.
What's the name of that?
It's just the home tab.
Oh.
You just want to click the home tab on. Yeah, because that gives you your home page. If you don't click that on and people go looking for you, it won't take them to your home page. Yeah. I don't know why. It just seems to me that should be an automatic thing. And then you can start organizing your videos. Here, I wonder if I could see better there. So it'll always have For You as your top row in your videos. But as you're putting up more and more content and you start organizing, like one thing Myron Golden has is he may have videos that are specifically on King Solomon's principles, right? And then he may have a lot of videos that are on, how to get out of debt. I'm just making these up. But he'll organize those channels that way. So you can start doing that the more content you have, and you can organize what order they're in as well. You want your newest content to always be not after the For You, but your next channel, your latest content, because what you don't want is people to come on there and it might be your most popular video, but it might be from 6 years ago, and then your next popular might be from 5. And so people are going to look at that and say, okay, these are her popular videos, but nobody's watching anything. She's not doing anything new, So you play with how you organize that. Yes, popular videos is a good one, but don't keep it at the top, unless you're brand new. But don't keep it at the top because it'll look like, it could look like a lot of old content. Okay. Does anybody have a question on any of these two? You really kind of have to get in there and play in it, but there's not a wrong way. Just the main thing is make sure that home tab, please do not forget to click that home tab. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned Gemini AI. I'm not really familiar with that.
So that's Google's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know how ChatGPT is good for like explaining, but not necessarily editing
Mm-hmm.
videos or images and stuff like that. Have you had any issues with Gemini AI?
I haven't had Gemini do that for me yet. I use Gemini more so for research or for quick things like that, or it makes, I'll throw in a description I wrote and I'll ask it to edit it. Quick tip if you are using AI and don't want people to know you're using ChatGPT, because ChatGPT definitely has some things that you can identify. The M dashes are a big one. It loves M dashes. Take them out. You may have to keep, sometimes they're necessary, but most of the time you just need a comma. And then also taking what this is a huge cheat. Take what ChatGPT wrote for you, go throw that in Grammarly, and then have Grammarly help you make it sound more like you, make it not sound like AI is a key thing, and it'll also go through and it'll make sure there's no plagiarism as well. So.
Sounds so weird. Like you just do it yourself and then you
Yeah, I know, but some people, I like chat for inspiration. Like if I'm trying to work through something, but ultimately I want to write for me. I don't want it to write for me.
Like if you're writing something and what you just said about don't plagiarize and make sure.
Yeah.
Like those little small things, it seems like would make no sense to just bring it from yourself.
It would, but you know what? What's interesting is this happens too because there's really no original ideas. I've written stuff and put it in Grammarly, and then Grammarly will say, "Oh, this is plagiarized." It's like, no, I wrote this. This is mine. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. But what I do like with Grammarly, Grammarly does, it tells you what % is plagiarized. So you want to keep it, and I think what it really means is who else has said this, right? Not literally plagiarized. If you're over, 30%, then you may want to go back and, look at what you've written. If you, are staying in 10 to 30%, you're fine. But, I did have one time I went in there and it was like 60% plagiarized. I was like, I wrote this. What are you talking about?
What is Grammarly?
So Grammarly is, and there is a free version of that as well. It's what you use to, anytime you write something, you throw it in there and it finds all the grammatical errors. It makes it sound better. If if you are, let's say you're a person who writes very scholarly, but you're trying to send something out that needs to be more warm and friendly, it'll help you do that. Yeah, so it's
Like an editor.
basically, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it can get annoying though if you don't remember to turn it off and you're like just typing stuff and it's trying to correct everything you're doing in life and you're just, stop it. All right, so we talked about hooks. And the hook is the most important thing. It is the core idea of your video. And sometimes it can be confusing about what's the difference between a hook and a title, okay? Well, the hook is going to appear in 3 places. It's going to appear in your title, in your thumbnail, and then the first 3 to 10 seconds of the video. If those 3 things are all cohesive, then you're going to have a compelling idea and video, and people will plug into it, okay? So now we're going to go over the 4 types of hooks. You have to use one of these. Sometimes there's variations. There are some people out there that are very unique, but for the most part, when you're coming up with your hook, it needs to fall in one of these 4 categories, okay? The first one is the curiosity hook. This is going to create the intrigue, okay? So I'm going to give a bad example and then a good example, okay? The bad example is if your hook is just podcast tips for beginners. If you type that in, you're going to get 50 million videos that say podcast tips for beginners, and it's just not that exciting sounding, right? So if you're a podcaster and you're thinking, but I want to do a video that's a podcast tips for beginners, think first, what are you trying to accomplish with that video? Okay, so a good hook is there are important things about starting a podcast that most people don't know. That gives way more explanation, right? And then that makes you curious, like, ooh, I wonder what those things are. You know, versus just tips, tips. Everybody has tips, right? But now I'm wondering, okay, what are these important things, right? And then once you have a hook, you can start creating titles. Your titles come from your hook, not the other way around. A lot of times we want to title something first, and then we want to create the hook. You'll have a harder time coming up with a hook if you do that. Create your hook first, and then think about your title. So if the hook was, there are important things about starting a podcast that most people don't know, a good title could be, What No One Tells You About Starting a Podcast, right? Curiosity. Somebody's gonna go, ooh, you know, I wanna know, all right? The next kind of hook is the problem hook. This targets a pain point. This, again, it's like, it's because my dryer is broken. That's why I keep going back to that. You know, how to fix a dryer. So an example, how to get more subscribers. Would you click that? Or would you just keep going, right? But if you're a podcaster and it says podcasters may be making a mistake that hurts their growth, you're thinking, oh wow, you know what, my podcast, it is struggling a little bit. I wonder if I'm having that problem. I need a solution. I need to watch this. And a possible title would be, The One Mistake New Podcasters Always Make. If you saw that title as a podcaster, would you click that? The third type is the transformation hook. This shows a result and then or outcome. So if you're teaching people how to get out of debt is not, that's too overwhelming, that's too general. It's not a good hook. Niche it down. So again, from Myron Golden, his was Biblical Principles Transformed My Finances. So that's like, okay, let me see. How can I use the Bible to transform my finances? And so a possible title for him is How Biblical Principles Took Me from Bankruptcy to Millionaire, which the funny thing is he actually has a book called From the Trash Man to the Cash Man.
It's like the same format of writing a term paper.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's writing, yeah, yep. So another example for a transformation hook would be, you know, how I went from 0 subscribers to 1 million subscribers in 1 month. That would make you watch it if you were trying to get subscribers, right? So, anybody have an example of like how you could use your channel with a transformation hook? Mm-hmm.
What my mom and my daddy didn't tell you, what your mother and your father didn't tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's one of my hooks.
Yeah, I like that. And that's that curiosity too. List hooks are big. People love numbers. They love to see the 5 top, the 3 this, so if you have something, you're like, give me something, what would you talk about? I know you watch a lot of videos, but if you had a channel up, what would your channel be?
Interesting.
You can just make something up, it's fine.
It would be religion.
Religion, okay. So, so let's just say you have your channel up. You're not just going to call it, like this one, podcast episode 12 with, what was your name again? I'm sorry.
Steve.
Steve. So you're not just going to put up there, the Bible with Steve, right? Nobody's going to look at it. But what would you be trying to accomplish with your channel?
Enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, to get people to start thinking critically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you could have a hook of, how to, something with I'm just going to throw this at critical thinking about the Bible in modern times, or, something, that relates that way. And then you could, kind of then start figuring out what your title is. But you don't want anything generic. So what you could do if it was a list, you could say the top 3 things to think about when you're reading the Bible, or the top 6 things to remember from the book of Matthew. You could really, people oh, well, what are, the 10 things that Jesus said that changed the world, things like people love numbers. So, with this one, most podcasters are missing several simple things that could help their YouTube channel grow. 5 tips that will grow their audience. All right, so now we're gonna have a pop quiz. I want you guys to identify the hook types behind the title. So I'm gonna give you a title, and then just call out what you think the hook type is, okay? So remember, we've got curiosity, problem, transformation, and list. Yes. Why your YouTube videos aren't getting views. Everybody thinks problem? Yay! 1,000,000 points for all of you. Okay.
I want a star.
You want a star? I'll have to remember to have those next time. Okay.
I want money.
You want money? All right. What no one tells you about starting a podcast.
Curiosity.
Yay! Another 1,000,000. You can spend them all with James now. All right. Next one. 5 mistakes new podcasters make. Awesome. See, everybody's paying attention. I love it. And the last one. How I grew my channel from from 0 to 10,000 subscribers.
Transformation.
Awesome. Very good. All right. Okay, now I want to know, which of these would you click? A, episode 14 podcast interview, or B, the one mistake that kills new channels?
B.
Very good. If anybody said A, it's going to worry. All right, so now you've learned what hooks are. Now we're going to turn these into clickable links. So the hook is the idea. That's the simplest way I can say it. The hook is the idea behind your video, okay? The title is the package, all right? So you can have one hook, and I mean, sky's the limit with what titles you can come up with. Once you know what the hook is to get that person to want to watch your video, just start brainstorming titles, okay? So example, a hook, podcasters may be making mistakes that hurt their growth. Some possible titles, the one mistake new podcasters always make, why most podcasts never grow, or the podcasting mistake nobody talks about. All right? So you can just brainstorm out your titles, and And if you can't choose between your titles, ask somebody else, That's one good use of social media. You could throw it out there and ask the public, which one would you click? Before you, and that's exactly what I just said, before you publish, ask, would you click this? Is the audience clear? So is the audience going to know what your video is from the title? Sometimes people get clever, and this is a branding thing. Clever is cute, but it's not always the best. Clever really only works a little bit. You really just want to be clear, okay? You can be clever in conversation, but when it comes to titles, when it comes to that stuff, clever isn't always the best. It's not that it doesn't work. There's some clever things out there, but for the most part, we all think we're funny and we're cute and clever, but it doesn't always translate. So just always go for what is clear, okay?
It's simple. Most people don't want to work that hard.
Yes, yeah. We don't want to burn brain calories, okay? And then is the outcome clear? So do people understand from your title what they're going to get from your video? That there's going to be an outcome for them. What is that going to be? Even if you're not solving a problem, there's still an outcome. There's information that they're still going to get. So you want to make sure that in your title, the audience is still clear what they're getting, okay? And then is it enough to make somebody curious to want to click it, okay? Don't post the title until it's past that funnel, all right? Now we'll move on to thumbnails, because your thumbnail, like I said, that is your movie poster. It's going to do 80% of the work. So you're going to want that to really pop. High contrast catches the eye, because when you think about when you go on YouTube, how many thumbnails you see, your eye is going to be drawn to what has the most contrast. You can keep it a simple image. If it's too busy, people's brains don't want to read that. They'll skip over it, okay? Few words. You don't have to write the whole description on the video. Just something that's, you can take your hook, which may be 20 words long, but make it 5, okay, to capture people. And it should evoke an emotion. It should be not so much your emotion, but whoever's watching it, whoever's seeing it, you want it to evoke their emotion. Like, oh yeah, oh, what, if somebody's struggling with depression, seeing somebody, it could work both ways. Seeing somebody that's sad on that thumbnail could make them want to watch it, or seeing somebody being released from it, but you want to evoke an emotion. If you're doing comedy, then you want something silly, right? Something that's going to make people laugh. So make sure whatever emotion you're wanting them to feel still goes along with your video, okay? If people don't understand what your thumbnail is saying, they're just going to skip it. And, I like with Diary of a CEO, he does great thumbnails as well. Like every thumbnail, you know what you're going to watch. You have one that says, I have insider info on Jeffrey Epstein. I know what that's about. And now I'm curious. I want to know what he knows about Jeffrey Epstein that we don't know. Did Trump just start World War III? Oh, did he? I know what's going to be that, not what's in the video, but I know what they're going to talk about. So that might make me curious. So you want people to know by looking at your thumbnail what they're going to get. So when we put it all together, you want your thumbnail to stand out. You want your hook. His hook is, you will get banned. And then his title is, never do these things on YouTube. So I'm looking at that going, oh, I have a YouTube. I don't want to get banned. I need to know what I need to do, not do in my videos. So he's very clear.
Is the hook the same thing as the description, or is it different?
The hook is just the idea behind it. So your hook, his hook was probably a lot longer, and then you will get banned. He just, like I said, you take the 20 words and make it 5 words for your thumbnail. His hook was probably there are, so many reasons people get banned on YouTube, or how to not get banned on YouTube, because maybe he got banned.
The hook is strictly for the thumbnail. Is that?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, the hook is in your thumbnail, but like I said, your hook may be a really long sentence.
Okay.
You won't put the really long sentence on you'll just truncate it down.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And then his title from that was "Never Do These Things on YouTube." So they supported each other. Whoops, went too far. All right, so does anybody have any more questions, like understanding hook, title, thumbnail, or the difference between hook and title? Does that seem pretty? Okay. All right, so it used to be you had 30 seconds to hook somebody on YouTube. But our attention spans have gotten shorter. We're bombarded with so much, we want things fast. So if you don't hook somebody in 10 seconds, and I'm gonna tell you, it's actually 3 seconds. You've gotta do it in 3 seconds.
That works for me.
Yeah, they're gonna move on. So that means in your first 3 to 10 seconds, you have to have the hook, the promise, and the preview. A lot of times videos start, and I understand not every video can start off with that. Something I want you to think about, if you have a show here, right, and you're putting it on YouTube, and so the show has its, obviously its beginning, you can't go back and reshoot the show, right? It is what it is. What you can do is you can stand in front of a camera, you can shoot yourself introing your own video, just so that way you can get your hook, promise, and preview there. And then I would suggest going forward, when you're doing, whether it's a podcast or a show, try in the first 3 to 10 seconds baking that into your format now, where you're telling the audience, this is what you're gonna get, and then going into your show, okay? And an example is, for a hook, most podcasts fail on YouTube. So you could come in, most podcasts fail on YouTube, but there are 3 things that'll fix it, and in this video, I'll show you how. 3 sentences. Okay, so if you can get in the habit before podcasts, before you're taping or anything, giving that 3-sentence hook will give you the 3 seconds you need to keep people there. Then roll into your show, okay?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So is that before the trailer? Like if you have like something you play before your podcast starts,
I would like your intro. I would. And I would also suggest keeping intros short. People just, even more shows now that you watch, they have where you skip intro, right? You go on Peacock and you're watching whatever and you can skip the intro. People just aren't really watching intros. Intros are more vanity things, so I would suggest cutting your intros down. You can use your intros more as trailers to promote your content. Use it in your shorts to promote. That's where you could really use your trailer. But really the videos that do the best are the ones that in the beginning, they lay out what they're gonna do. So I would lay it out, most products fail, blah, 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 this, that, and then go into the trailer, then go into the show. Mm-hmm. All right. SEO, everybody's favorite thing because nobody really understands it. All right, so SEO is basically, this is your search engine optimization. This is what you need to make sure YouTube is showing your video to everybody, and that anybody that's searching for anything that has to do with what you're putting on YouTube finds you, okay? So this is gonna be your title keywords. So again, we're really gonna talk about keywords a lot, all right? I will tell you too, if you're really stuck on what to name your video, you can always go back and rename your video later if it's not, or you can do A/B testing, which is great. YouTube does A/B testing, which means for the same video, you can have different titles and it'll throw it out there and it'll come back and tell you which one did better, which one got more clicks, and then you can decide to just use that video, okay? And actually Instagram does something similar now too, where if you have over 500 subscribers or followers, you can do, it's called a test, and you upload it as a test, and they will not send it to your audience, they will send it out there to everybody you're not reaching. And if your video comes back as being watched a lot, then you know, okay, this is something that's successful, and then you can post it on your Instagram. It's a side note on that. But you want to use SEO when it comes to your title, when it comes to your description, when it comes to your tags. If you're using chapters have been great. Now YouTube just did a big change where now they're saying chapters might not help you. I don't know. I haven't played with that too much yet, but chapters are great to help people see what's come. People will skip chapters, but also to help people to go back to chapters and, you know, find what they need in a video. And then playlists. The first 2 lines of your description are important, as that is what will appear in search results. So in your description, if you're teaching people how to shop frugally, you're going to want that in your first 2 lines of your description, because people are somebody may be looking like, how can I find inexpensive cameras, right? And then if you're a photographer or whatever, and you're talking about that, you're going to want that in your first 2 lines, you know, where to find the best cameras, you know, because that's what people are looking for. And we're going to get to this too, and I'm going to repeat it, but if you're stuck on what your title could be, just type in YouTube and see what comes up. So if you're talking about biblical principles, right? Type in biblical principles in YouTube, because again, it's a search engine. It'll actually show everything people are searching. So you can it'll give you the information. You can just use that in your title. We don't have to reinvent any wheels. All right, so here's some great tools for you to find your keywords. YouTube search suggestions is the best. That's what I just said. It's free. So just type what your subject matter is. If it's, you know, how to make dolls, just type that in the search engine, and in YouTube search, and it'll just have that drop down with everything that has to be with how to make dolls, and you can find something in there and use that as your keywords. If nothing comes up, that might mean nobody's searching for it, which could mean you need to find different.
Does Google see YouTube as a threat?
Yeah, I would think they should, because they're coming up on their heels.
So do you anticipate a hostile takeover pretty soon?
That I don't know.
I see it coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah.
Isn't Google own YouTube?
I don't think Google owns YouTube. I think, do they? They do? Okay, yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I don't get into their business. I'm like, but yeah.
Google owns YouTube?
Yeah, that's it.
Google owns YouTube. They bought it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I knew sooner or later somebody's gonna get got.
Which then would explain why Google Trends is the next place to look for. So you can go to Google. You can actually, if you type in Google Trends, it'll bring up the Google Trends site, and you can just go on there, and again, you can type in the words and see, and that can help with titles too. There's TubeBuddy, I've never used that. vidIQ I've played with. I use Answer the Public. I like Answer the Public because it's not just for YouTube, I use it for all my social media management. I'm able to, like, if I like this one, I typed in burnout, and so it tells me the breakdown, like with AI, how it's showing up, with social media, how it's showing up, shopping, search engines, how it's showing up, and then under that, it'll even like say, like, it'll put it in questions, like what are the questions people are asking about burnout specifically, you know, or whatever. So Answer the Public does cost money. It's not free. The only 2 free ones on here are the YouTube and Google Trends, everything else. And then Keyword Tool, I've never used that either. Have any of you used any of these other ones before? Yeah, I'm more about free. I like free 50. But I do like Answer the Public because it does help with titles, because it does give you like the questions people are asking and that. So I like that one.
How much is it? Like,
I don't remember. It wasn't bad. If I'm paying for it, it's not bad. Yeah, if I'm paying for it, it's not bad because I'm pretty cheap. Yeah, I'm frugal. I'm frugal. I'm on a budget. I'm building a business, and yeah. Okay, hashtags. All right, so believe it or not, you do not want to go hashtag crazy with YouTube. All right, you will confuse YouTube, and now YouTube actually ignores everything past 5 hashtags. So when you're writing your description and you put those hashtags in there, just pick 5. And again, you can find out an easy way to find what hashtags are good for you. Again, ChatGPT is a great one, Gemini, any of those. Or if you know somebody else that's doing content similar to yours, but is like, has lots of subscribers or lots of views, go look at their YouTube. Again, don't reinvent the wheel, and see what their hashtags are and use their hashtags, okay? Nobody owns them, so 3 to 5 hashtags is enough in your description.
Should you always put your page in the hashtag or no?
You can. You can. I think it's a good idea to do that because it'll help if people are looking for you, but they can't remember, exactly. They might type that in the search or, whatever, and they'll be able to find it. You'll also, if you start using a lot of analytics and stuff, you can follow like how your hashtag is trending as well. I wouldn't do too many original, like you want a good blend of what's trending, whatever, everyone's using, and then, if you want to, I always, for my clients, put their company name in their hashtag, yeah. The only time, if I run out, like there's no space, then I might take it out of there, but for the most part, I do try to use theirs.
Should you wait until you're a little bit more popular? Because the reason I'm asking is because I had more than 3 hashtags.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is write the description of the particular episode in Copilot and ask it for hashtags
Mm-hmm.
based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would add my name.
Mm-hmm.
But is it really more important to do that later than like when you get
No,
more
do it
followers?
now. Do it now. Just, really, because, oh, what am I doing? Now the clicker wants to work. Wow, it went to the end. Actually, we can go to that one. Yeah, because YouTube really doesn't care about hashtags as much anymore. There's no hurt in putting that in there. I would put it in there. Where you do get to go hashtag crazy, which is what I said in the beginning, is when you're setting up your channel description, there's a place there for hashtags. It'll let you put up to 500 hashtags. Again, make sure those hashtags still have something to do with what your channel is about, but you can go hashtag crazy there. And another thing a lot of people don't know with hashtags, especially when it comes to the channel, don't just put words. You can put sentences, just don't put spaces between the words, but you can do like hashtag, how do I get out of debt? Because people are looking for that. So if people go in the search and type how to get out of debt, you're already, that's the hashtag of your channel. It'll suggest your channel. And then also in your YouTube video, I would not necessarily hashtag a person who has nothing to do with a video, but in your channel description, if my channel was about finances and all of that, I might hashtag Myron Golden in mine just so it would flag. I wouldn't do that for my video, but I would do it for my channel. Okay.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So concerning hashtag, 2 questions. Hashtag is actually the box.
The
there,
TikTok,
right?
yeah, the pound key.
The pound key. And what is it? I mean, when you click on it, do it take you somewhere else, or is it just for
No,
a description?
It's to help people find you, because what the hashtag does is it makes that a keyword.
Okay.
So that way, if people type in the keyword, or sometimes people even type in a hashtag keyword, and everything that says keyword or hashtag keyword will come up.
So in front of each, whatever you want to say, you put the hashtag.
Yeah. And like I said, if you use a sentence, just take the spaces out between, just make it all one word. Yeah. And then you want to avoid, again, you don't need 20 hashtags. You don't need irrelevant trends. Remember, just because something's trending today does not mean that next year or even next month it'll be trending, right? So be careful about trending tags. And then generic tags like hashtag fun. That's going to do nothing for you. Everybody's, out there using hashtag fun. So, whoops. Hello. Okay. I want to make sure I didn't skip anything. Nope, we did. Okay. I'm telling you, the best way to find hashtags, though, is just go on other people's content and see what they're using that's working for them. All right, now this is a little tip a lot of people don't know to do, because again, what did we say about the algorithm? It was clicks, watch time, and keeping people on the platform, right? So when you're uploading your video, it is going to ask you if you want to add an end screen. You want to add an end screen because what an end screen is going to do is the last 10, 20 seconds of the video, it's going to bring up 2 images. This one here is that person's logo, okay? And then over here is a video. You get to choose the video. So I think you get to choose the video. And it's usually from your playlist, so it'll suggest another video for your viewer to go to. So it will keep them on your channel specifically. If they liked your video, they might want to see something else you have, or it might make them subscribe. So it's just that reminder. So you want to do end screens. This was something like I was lazy about, and I have changed that. It's do the end screen, keep people on your channel. The algorithms will love it.
Can you explain that again?
So when you upload your video and you're clicking, you're going to keep doing the next. It's going to bring up where it's going to ask. It's going to have like a bunch of different things you can add, but one of them is, do you want add an end screen? Yes. And then when you go on there, it'll have different layouts. So this one had the circle at the bottom, and then, so this one had the subscribe and the video. They have where you can have 2 different videos if you wanted. There's different, you'll see it'll have just like a shadow image of what it will look like on your video. Yeah, so that way you can get people to go to your next video. All right, and this is something else. We get excited. We've uploaded our video and we want the world to see it, but you should not publish it right away, okay? There's a lot of reasons. The main thing is YouTube it's analyzing your video. And even though it may say it is processed and all of that, it still can take 24 hours for YouTube to analyze your video to decide who to send it to. So do not publish it right away. Set it as private. You can set it as private and schedule it for a specific time and day, or you could just leave it in private, and when you're ready, go in and publish it, okay?
So what does private mean?
Private means nobody but you sees it. The minimum you want, because I know sometimes we're like, no, we need to post this right away. The minimum is at least give your video 2 hours before you schedule it. If you schedule your video, it'll automatically stay private until it's scheduled, its premiere. but you can also just set it as private and come back and publish it public when you want. At least 2 hours. Better is 24 hours. Even better is longer than that. So even if you want to just start uploading your videos on there and just keeping them private and then publishing them one by one, like, I mean, it's analyzing, it's figuring it out. That's just another one of those things I took for granted too, and I have seen a difference in throwing something up there right away versus letting YouTube really figure out where it's going to go. But it also gives you time, because I've done this before where I throw it up there and then later on I go back and I look and I see all the mistakes I made in my title, in my description, like all that, or I didn't complete this because I didn't have a thumbnail. So I let YouTube generate a thumbnail that's generic and there's nothing interesting about it. So take your time with all of that. And two, a lot of times we throw things up and then we think, oh, we should have done this instead. Well, this gives you time to do that. There's always going to be something you think of later. So never, never, never publish right away unless you absolutely have to. You know, obviously if you're doing news type stories, you're going to want that stuff to go up right away. So that's going to be different. But, you know, you can batch upload things and then work through all the descriptions and all of that and then publish later. You don't have to do it right away.
Because YouTube does create a thumbnail, you said?
YouTube will, it's not a good thumbnail. What it does is it just picks a generic part of your video and it uses that. There's nothing, it's very generic. So I would take the time to create your thumbnail for it and upload it on there. Yeah, I've yet to see YouTube create a thumbnail that was interesting.
Can you send someone a private?
You can send the link to them.
But it's only, they could only watch it like one time.
You know what? I know what you're talking, and I don't know that YouTube still does that. You can also set it to unlisted and send them the link for that to watch. But I would still try to get it in private for a little while before you send the link out, just to make sure it goes through all the analytics. And the other thing too is it gives it time too to go through, you know, copywriting issues. Like you may have music on there. I use stock music, but I have the rights to it, but sometimes it still flags it. And there's nothing worse than when you're working for a client and their video gets flagged as copyrighted music, even though I licensed it. So then I got to go in and do all this stuff, right? Versus if I just let it sit there for 24 hours, if it gets flagged, at least it gets flagged before it goes public. Because if it goes public and gets flagged, then it's taken away until I fix it. So this way you don't have that gap in there, okay? All right, so these are the common mistakes that kill your reach. Number one is weak titles, bad thumbnails, long intros. So we talked about that. Your intro needs to be how many seconds long?
3 to 2.
Yes, yes. And no niche focus. Really, really, I would say make that an exercise this weekend to really think about what your niche is and drill it down to the smallest thing. I know sometimes it's hard because you may have a show where somebody may have a show where I just like to go interview everybody and talk about, okay, so think about how you can niche that down so people understand. Yes, you may be interviewing a wide variety of people, but why are you doing it? Sometimes your niche is why you're doing it or exactly what you're doing. You know, I interview people in Charlotte to support local businesses. That's a good niche down, right? Okay. And then, yes, don't reuse copyrighted content. You'll be surprised how many people do this because now, thanks to things like Opus Clip, somebody can come into your channel, take the link, go to Opus Clip, and Opus Clip will cut shorts, little videos from your video. People are doing that with a lot of, especially celebrity, you know, YouTubers. They'll go in and then they'll post it on their channel, and it's, you know, it's as if it's their content. Don't do that. That will get you banned. Again, you know, a lot of people worry about being shadow banned. You're going to get banned if you do that kind of stuff, or if there's certain subject matter that is not allowed to be discussed on YouTube, then you'll get banned. But
Is there a list that did they send to you?
no, you just kind of have to read through their stuff. But like, I can give you an example. Like, one of my clients is a cannabis farm, an organic cannabis farm, and they make topical ointments and stuff from cannabis. The one thing in creating content is we can never say, like, go buy it. It has to be educational purposes only. So it has to be more like, oh, what does it mean to be organic? You know, so then they don't get banned. But if we said, go buy organic, you know, cannabis ointment, he'd get banned. So you just kind of have to see what YouTube's rules are on that.
So you're not allowed to endorse.
No, you can. That's just specific to cannabis. So yeah, so you just have to, you know, a good thing is just always research. Again, AI can be our friends. It's not, you know, people are so scared of AI, but if you're using it the right way, it's great for research. It's great for outlining ideas, but you can always double check in AI and say, am I allowed to talk about this on YouTube?
On some of the podcasts, you hear some profanities, and then on some others you don't hear any.
Right.
So is there a rule, or is it's up to the concept creator? In terms
Yeah.
of whether,
Yeah. One thing too, when you're setting up your videos, when you're, I would say the safest thing if you want more reach is, unless you're specifically creating content for kids, okay, like it's for them, everything else click it's not for kids. Otherwise, if you click, because what we think about is like, oh, this is kid friendly. YouTube's not asking you if it's kid friendly. YouTube is asking you, is this for kids? If you click that it's for kids because you're thinking, oh, it's kid friendly, then guess who's only going to see your content? Is kids. Yes. So just as a habit, unless you are creating something specific for kids, just say, no, this is not for kids. And there's actually a way now in your settings, you can set that so it never asks you it again. It'll just know that none of your content is for kids. Doesn't mean, you know, that kids can't watch it. It's just that it's not created for them. And that'll help with view too. Because sometimes we'll think, oh, you know, this episode of my show, you know, I'm interviewing kids, so this is for kids. No. You know, just no, it's for general public. It wasn't made specifically for kids, you know, so.
Well, usually if it's a copyright issue, they just send it to you and say we can't put it on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
A friend of mine made an opening for me, and I thought he had made it.
Mm-hmm.
He had
Yeah.
taken it and replayed it, so
Yeah.
they
And
just said we can't.
yeah, and that's another, you know, that's the great example of why you don't want to publish things right away too, why you want to kind of give it that at least 24-hour breathing room, because then you haven't published something that then gets pulled because of copywriting issues. You can take care of that, you know, before. All right, so simple growth strategy. You do not have to go crazy and post a video every day unless you really want to. I don't know who has time to do that, but the key is consistency, okay? So if you're posting 5 times a week, you better keep posting 5 times a week, because if you drop off from that, YouTube notices. So choose something that you know you can do. You can always do more later, but if you know you can commit to 1 a week, 1 a month, whatever it is, stay consistent. Try to do it on the same day. Make sure you have that strong hook, that strong title, and that strong thumbnail. So that's just a circle. If you can do 2 videos, but the key is consistency in how many and consistency on what day of the week. And in the beginning, you may have to play around with what days of the week. Unless you have an analytics running in your background that tells you when your subscribers are on YouTube more, you may have to in the beginning play around. But at least pick a day and stick with that for at least a few weeks. And if you feel like you're not making progress, then maybe try a different day. But just consistency is key.
What affects the algorithm more? Liking it or subscribing?
So it used to be both. Subscribers were really important. YouTube's doing a change now where subscribers aren't going to matter as much. However, having said that, YouTube's always changing. So I say still go for the subscribers, especially if you're looking for monetization, because there is a requirement on how many followers, subscribers you have to be monetized, as well as how many hours have to be watched to monetize. But this new rollout isn't relying so much on subscribers. And something I've noticed too is it's probably following the trend that people just are subscribed to so many things now, they're just not subscribing. So the biggest thing, honestly, for YouTube is they want the watch hours. They want to see people are watching your video all the way through, or at least a majority through. So I would focus on getting the watch time. All right, so final advice, don't chase the algorithm. It's funny, I was talking to James earlier and he said he was telling people he tells people the same thing. So yes, the algorithm is when you recognize it's just clicks, watch time, and keeping viewers there. That's the only part of the algorithm you need to focus on. If you focus on that, you'll create great content that'll serve your viewer. But if you try to chase an algorithm by doing whatever's trendy or, you're gonna burn yourself out, because that algorithm changes weekly. I mean, it does not stay the same. So find your niche, determine who your audience is, and those are your loyal people. Stay loyal to them. Don't try to get people, that just have nothing to do with what your content is. Really focus on doing quality work and serving your people.
For the one video a week or being consistent, especially with short form taking over so much of the platforms,
Yeah.
is there a sweet spot for YouTube of length of like 10 minutes versus an hour and a half? Because doing hour and a half a week is really different than doing like a 20-minute video.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is if you're newer, and let's just say you just started a podcast and you're trying to build an audience, have shorter content. So if you have a podcast and you don't have a lot of viewers and subscribers, maybe go for 15 to 20 minutes. You can always go longer. People are gonna watch the longer YouTube content because they know you. They have found value in what you're doing. They're demanding more from you. But if you start right off with an hour and a half, 2 hour podcast or YouTube show and nobody's heard of you and you've got 5 subscribers, you're probably not going to get any more than that. It's just going to seem overwhelming to people who don't know you. So again, it's better to have that quality over quantity. So go for the shorter. And another great thing I talked about Opus Clip is if you do have a longer show, you can take your show, put it in Opus Clip, and it'll create shorts for you. So you can, again, that's a good way to keep content consistent on YouTube, is having shorter versions of your content up there that doesn't take a whole lot to create. And you can do that in Canva too. You can create shorters too, but Opus Clip will do it for you. You can always start something new. We're never too old. So,
I second it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, thank you everyone so much for your time. We only went a couple minutes over, so.